welcome back to another video. Today I have a list of my top 20 ranking anime movies and movie-linked OVAs. If you haven't seen my previous list of the top 20 ranking anime series by score, then you should go ahead and check that out, as it is linked in the description section below. If you're wondering why a movie or OVA isn't on this list, then either I did not review it yet, or its score was not high enough to be on this list, as the entire list is composed of anime that I have reviewed. If you would like to hear more about any of these titles, please check the description, as all of the reviews will be linked there. Starting off at number 20, we have my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie. Of course, you know there's going to be some Dragon Ball here. We see Dragon Ball Z Movie 12. This is the one where Hitler returns, and it's just a fun movie altogether. If you're a big fan of DBZ, or if you're just wanting something that is a little bit of fun to watch, and go ahead and check that one out. Number 19 is Vampire Hunter D, which may not be for everyone. If you're a fan of classic movies, then you've probably already seen it. If you're not a fan of classic anime, you can try it. It's a fun watch, but it is heavily dated, as it was a very low-budget sci-fi monster flick for its time. Moving on to number 18, we have Metropolis, which also scored a 7. This is a futuristic sci-fi flick, and I felt that it was pretty enjoyable. Check out my review of that. It is a bit outdated, but everything I say is still pretty much up to the way that I feel now about it. Moving on to number 17, we have The Dagger of Kamui, which is another 80s anime movie, which held up a whole lot better than Vampire Hunter D did. I gave this one a 7, honestly, because the story and the characters really aren't anything that special, and it is a bit long-winded, but its animation is definitely something that warrants a watch, so you should go ahead and check that one out. Moving on to number 16, we have Bardock, Father of Goku, which is a Dragon Ball Z TV special, which I gave an 8. This is basically some of the exposition to the story of DBZ, where it shows the life of Goku's father. Pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to number 15, we have another DBZ TV special. That is the History of Trunks, which also gets an 8. This is basically exposition into the history of Trunks, basically. Self-explanatory. Both good TV specials. Definitely check them out. Moving on to number 14, we have Cat Soup, which also scored an 8. If you're a big fan of Yuasa's work, then you should definitely check this one out. He didn't direct it, but you can definitely tell that it has his influences with it, as he worked on mostly the animation as the animation director with it. Moving on to number 13, we have Steam Boy, directed by Katsuhiro Otomo, which scored an 8. This movie doesn't look nearly as good as Akira, which it still looks very good on its own merits, but its story makes a whole lot more sense. Moving on to number 12, we have Sword of the Stranger. If you're a big fan of action anime, of fighting, of samurai, then you should definitely check this one out. I felt that it was a bit long-winded, which kind of took the score down a little bit. It was a lot longer than it needed to be, so it scored an 8. Moving on to number 11, we have Bastard, scoring an 8, which is a 6-episode long OVA, which is a medieval fantasy comedy action, which is kind of self-parody at the same time. Also at number 11, because I forgot to add it to this list, unfortunately, so hey, you get another movie here. We have Wings of Hanamis, which is a sci-fi drama. It's a really beautiful movie. It's very controversial. I have a very lengthy review of this, which is about 40 minutes long. It contains spoilers, but it's definitely a great movie that you should check out. Next at number 10, we have Angel's Egg, which scored a 9. This is one of these movies where you watch it once, you don't understand it. You watch it 2, 3, 4 more times, you still don't understand it, because it's not really anything to understand. It's an experimental art film about a girl wandering through town with an egg. It's really beautiful, and I give it a 9. Number 9 is Howl's Moving Castle, one of my favorite Ghibli movies of all time. The score's a 9. I probably need to review some more Ghibli movies to get the list populated a bit more, because there's some awesome stuff out there, but everybody knows Howl's Moving Castle, I'm sure. Moving on to number 8, we have Paprika, which also scores a 9. Paprika was directed by Satoshi Kon. It's actually my least favorite work of his, but even having said that, it still scored a 9. It is a very beautiful film. Moving on to number 7, we have Tokyo Godfather, also directed by Satoshi Kon, the mastermind himself. This is basically, it's set in Christmas, but it's not necessarily a Christmas movie. It's about these homeless people, and they find this baby, and it's basically them dealing with that. Moving on to number 6, we have Gundam War in the Pocket, which is a 6-episode OVA that takes place in the middle of the Universal Century timeline. If you're unfamiliar with Gundam or the Universal Century timeline, it's still safe to watch. This is something that I recommend for anyone who is questionable people about mech, or they're curious about mech or Gundam in general, so go ahead and check that one out. It's only 6 episodes. You can finish it quick, plus I gave it a 9 out of 10. Moving on to number 5, we have another Satoshi Kon film. That is Millennium Actress. Really love that one. It's basically about an actress reliving her life, going through and talking about the events of her life as she played in different movies, and also personal struggles as well. Moving on to number 4, we have Princess Mononoke, which I give a 10. My review actually gives it a 9, but after careful consideration and rewatching it a few more times, I think that it deserves a 10 for everything that it is. But everything that I say in the review still stands up on its own. It's just the score that's a little bit different. Number 3 is Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro. If you're not a Lupin fan, if you're curious about Lupin, if you've never seen any, this is a great place to start because it really doesn't require any prior knowledge, and it was the first Miyazaki film that he worked on. It was his first standalone project, and it shows his talent even from the late 70s, and considering that this is a late 70s film, it holds up beautifully to today. This movie gets a 10 out of 10. Next at number 2, we have another Satoshi Kon work, which is Perfect Blue, which is a really eerie and creepy movie about a pop idol who wants to change her career over from singing to acting, and she has this really creepy fan that stalks her. It's a really crazy movie there. Of course, that one also gets a 10. And lastly, but not least, we have Golden Boy, which also gets a 10 out of 10. This is really a personal favorite of mine. It's really funny, 6-episode long comedy. It has a lot of adult humor to it, so if you're not a fan of sex jokes or anything like that, then it may not be for you, but I still recommend trying it as it's only 6 episodes long. If you watch this one, then you definitely need to see it with the English dub because it actually improves the experience here. So anyways, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you found this video helpful in any way or if you enjoyed it. Be sure to share it with your friends if they love anime too, because everybody likes to find out new stuff to watch. Thanks for watching. Let me know your top 20 anime movies or some of your favorites in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time.